Oh, hey. I didn't see you there. It was just getting ready for, you know, it's been a while, so yeah. Um, this is awkward. Welcome to the Wolf Workshop. So what is the Wolf Workshop? Well, this is hopefully going to become a place where I teach you everything I know about converting, sculpting, and building miniatures in different and dynamic ways. Everything from filling gaps to changing poses to maybe we'll even get into some sculpting miniatures from scratch and building armatures and things of that nature. But in this video, I'm going to show you everything you're going to need to get started on your sculpting adventure. So, welcome to the Wolf Workshop. Alright, so we're at the workbench now. So this is where I do most of my work after the whole remodel deal. So first thing you're going to need is a good cutting mat. You can see mine is like dirty and has seen a lot of use, both sides. This side's a little better. Little bit. Okay, so I've got a bunch of stuff set up off to the side here, and we're just going to kind of work on down the line. And yeah, so first thing you need, well, not the first thing you need, but one of the things you're going to need is a file. You can get these cheap on Amazon. This is pretty great. It's 100 grit on one side and 180 on the other. It's great for when you're doing armor plates, things like that. Great for flattening stuff out. When we get into it, I'm going to show you some techniques that you can use where you don't actually need these, but they are still handy to have around. Next up, one of the most important converting tools you will get into your toolbox. This is a razor saw. Super thin, makes really accurate cuts, and it cuts through almost anything like butter. These things are fantastic when you have to cut big chunks off of stuff, which is something that I do a lot, something that we are going to explore. And you can get this off of Amazon too, fairly cheap. Simple X-Acto blade, you can find these on Amazon as well. Every hobbyist already has one of these. These come in handy for all types of things. When I'm sculpting, the most I get out of it is when I'm trimming. A lot of the times when you're sculpting, you put stuff on and it ends up being too big, so you've got to shave it down and then that type of deal. So good X-Acto blade, always great to have. Now, we're going to go into sculpting tools next, and every sculptor is different. Every sculptor has, some use handmade tools, some buy the steel ones from GW that are a lot like this one here. This is my go-to for basically everything. I'll start with this and then I'll refine with the other tools that I have, but every sculptor pretty much has their go-to tool, and this one is mine. It's a simple flat blade with a flat burnisher head on the back end there. Let's see if I can get this in camera. Practice makes perfect. Okay, there we go. So next up we just have a bunch of other sculpting tools. This one's great for doing large flat surfaces. Basically, you're going to want to have a variety of different tools because you never know when you're going to need a different one. Sometimes you might need a rounded tip, sometimes you might need a hard edge, sometimes you need a pin. I personally use this for my pin. It's an airbrush cleaning tool. It's something that I have hanging around anyway, so it's quick to put little tiny details in or to mash green stuff into small areas that most of your tools won't fit into. So next up, we're going to look at some silicone sculpting tools. Now, I was like dead set against these for a very long time. I didn't like the idea of them. It seemed strange and odd to me. And then I was like, all right, you know what? Whatever. Let's get some and try it out. This is probably one of the best investments as a sculptor you will ever make. You can get these a lot cheaper. I got mine from Green Stuff World, and they come in all shapes and sizes. Like some of them have super fine points with a flat edge. Others are very rounded. Some have a flat edge and are rounded. Some of them just have a straight edge, and all of these are fantastic. The great thing about them, especially when you work with like a lot of green stuff, silicone doesn't really stick to it at all, which is a fantastic trait to have, because one of the traits that green stuff has is that it is very tacky. That's the reason why a lot of sculptors use it, is because you don't have to work so hard to have it adhere to another surface. There's no prep time, so you don't have to like etch up whatever you're putting it onto so that it'll stick. It naturally is a very tacky substance, and it will adhere to most things. Silicone isn't one of them though. So I got a lot of these. So I got a set of the large and a set of the detail ones, and as you can see, like, these ones are a lot bigger than these ones, but like I said, it's the same thing with the other sculpting tools. You never know what you're going to need until you actually need it. Okay, so now we're going to get into the actual epoxies. So here's some green stuff. This is also from Green Stuff World. I buy mine in the tube. You can get yours in the flat. I prefer the tube because I use a lot of it, and I find that when I use the tube, I have less wasted product than when I use the flat. But people's, it's like paint. Sometimes you just get a bad batch. I have had terrible luck with the flat version where the two pieces are joined together. So I had like 4 or 5 bad experiences with it where the center of it had actually like began to cure, and it was showing up in my sculpts because you could see like chunks of already cured stuff inside of it was a terrible mess. So I tried this out and I had 0 issues with this. So since then I have sworn by this, and so that is my green stuff form of choice. Next we have a different brand. This might be a little bit hard to see with the glare and that, but this is called Procreate. This is a different kind of epoxy. It has different properties to green stuff. It's not as tacky, and it holds a lot harder edge than green stuff does, and it actually cures faster. This isn't something that you absolutely need when you're starting out. Personally, like, if you're just starting out, I would just stick with regular old green stuff, and then as you sort of get familiar with and comfortable with using it, you can sort of branch off and try the other epoxies that are available on the market, and decide for yourself which one you like best. I find that each epoxy has sort of a different purpose. So like if I was sculpting something like a cloak, or if I was filling a gap that was like on flesh or something like that, I would use green stuff just because it has it's easier to blend, I find, and on top of that, it just works better with more organic forms, whereas Procreate is more inorganic. So if you're filling gaps in armor plates, or I don't know, like structures on your bases or that kind of thing, or if you're just starting out building out an armature, this stuff is great because it cures super hard, and it's actually quite fast, like the set time. Now, something that we're going to get into later is that you can actually mix these together and get different properties out of that. So we will explore that as we get further into this series. I want to nail the basics first, and then as we move up, we'll kind of go from there. Some other things that are really useful for the sculptor who's just starting out is this. It's also from Green Stuff World. It's called Blue Stuff, and it is actually a water treated putty that will hold its shape when you cool it down. So basically you can create all kinds of press molds with this. So for example, I had a base that I had wanted to duplicate, so I pressed it into there, and then I poured in resin, and that is what came out. So yeah, it worked out pretty well. This stuff is great because it's reusable, so you can actually put this back in hot water, it'll become malleable again, and then you can press mold your next thing. Now, for a more permanent sort of mold, something that I would recommend getting later if it's something that you really want to do, it can be a great like money saver, because we all have that, like, have come into that situation where we're building a kit and we find that one bit, but there's only one of it, and we're like, well, shit. And then you're searching eBay for it, and it's like the most expensive bit that you can get out of the kit, and it's like, well, this bloody sucks. So that can be a great solution for the bits problem. This is a more permanent solution. So this is also from Green Stuff World. Man, this is just like a big promotion. I bought all this stuff. They didn't give me anything. This is silicone putty, which is 2 parts, 1-to-1 mix ratio. And when you mix these two together, it will actually make a mold. So it turns into a fairly hard silicone rubber, right? And this is just one that I made for example. So this is a Chaos Warrior cloak, and you just kind of pull that out, and it holds all the detail and whatnot. And so now I have a mold of a Chaos cloak that I don't know what I'm going to use for, but I needed something that had lots of different textures so that I could show you guys what it's actually capable of doing. The set time on this stuff is 10 minutes. Like, this is super fast. So like you could literally like mix this up, press it onto whatever you want to make a mold of, go and like grab a snack and come back, and it'll be cured, which is absolutely fantastic for the workers who are impatient like me. So, other things that you're going to need that I don't have like handy with me right now: Vaseline, which is great for putting on your metal tools. You can put it on the silicone ones as well, but it doesn't need it as much. And this will like absolutely stop your tools from sticking to the green stuff. I personally really hate using it, and whenever I like have to, I hate it, because after you're done you have to wash the miniature and kind of treat it like a resin fig, which I hate doing. So that is something that I don't normally do. Mostly I just use water for the lubrication or whatever, but you got to be careful with that as well, because if you use too much water, then your green stuff won't stick to the surface and of the actual like thing you're sculpting on top of, and it can cause other problems as well. But anyways, so that is a quick rundown of the tools that I feel every sculptor should start out with. So file, razor saw, a couple of sculpting tools, and of course your green stuff. And then from there you can branch out, get other different kinds of sculpting tools. And then if you're feeling adventurous, you could try out this blue stuff or the silicone putty. So that's all I have for right now. I hope you enjoyed this quick rundown of the tools you'll need when you're starting out with your sculpting. And remember, winter is coming.